her house for sale and has a contract. Favaro has his house for sale. And Mrs. Carson, since her husband died, he has her house up for sale. What other Democrats are leaving town now? Who else is planning? 800 Sylvan had a plan to do housing on this site from the beginning. And that was why they wanted the subdivision. And they even alluded to the fact of more than one subdivision, which we heard tonight at the pre-meeting of the planning board. Okay, this property is 28 acres, and it's not 20 acres that they keep talking about. Okay, it's in the form of a condo association, and it could remain as a condo association with commercial development. The application was a false prospect in order to get the subdivision and to get the deed restriction removed. Their attorney, John Shapizi, had researched Englewood Cliffs COA compliance prior to Normandy ever filing an application with the planning board. If we had given them what they wanted, they would have come back with the 20 acres that they're talking about now, and we would be right where we are. But they would have already had the subdivision and the deed restriction removed, which allows them to put the buildings close to 9W. Okay? The planning board chair, Russell Perino, had worked with council president Carolyn Mrs. Fair, please, okay? You gotta shut up.
Your 3 minutes are up.
Planning board chair Russell Perino had worked with council president Carolyn for over a year with Serenian and Mastretti. But since January, they had been cut out of the process, and all the information that they had worked on and accumulated over that time was lost. The majority did not want to know anything with them. This was politics at the expense of the residents.
Excuse me, Councilwoman, your time's up. Thank you.
Thank you. Your time is up. When are you moving now? When are you moving, Gloria? Gloria, when are you moving?
Shut up. Is there a question?
When are you moving?
Stop it. Don't make it personal. Issues on it. It's okay. Right, okay.
Call me a liar, Mrs. O'Shea. It's the second time. Respectfully.
There's a resident at the microphone.
Stop.
There is a resident at the microphone. Be respectful, Mr. Barry. Thank you.
Just stop it already.
Mr. Mayor, my name is Claudio Chorosic, 4667 East Palisade Avenue. I've listened to all this data, and I took the liberty to look at some of the community around us, okay? Not everybody has knowledge. What I don't understand, and maybe this expert can explain.
I can't hear you.
Maybe some of this expert can explain what is the rationale to decide how many low-income units a community has to build. It's based on what? On the number of the people living in the town? At the income of the town? What is based on?
It's a complex fair share formula that's been vigorously debated. I debated it and litigated it and got the numbers cut down substantially from what Fair Share Housing Center was saying was the correct formula. So it's very complicated.
But the formula is based on what?
Formula is based on many factors. There's different components to the formula. It's a projection of how many households will come into the region, how many of them will be low and moderate, how many of them should be allocated to each municipality, how much filtering there will be in each community,
But there
how
must
much
be one
drainage
component that determines that this community need low-income housing.
I didn't hear that, I'm sorry.
There must be one of the major items in this criteria that determine that this community needs low-income housing.
Well, it's many factors. It's a projection of... Every municipality in the state has a requirement. 60 municipalities in Bergen County have filed declaratory judgment actions, just like us. 43 of them have settled. Many of them are in the process of settling. That's the reality.
I took some numbers put some numbers together. First of all, I look how many residents in each one of the towns. Okay? Englewood Cliffs has 5,369.
Yes.
Okay? With an income average $140,000. Crestview has 8,729 residents and has a 75 unit with an income of $110,000. Demarest, 0 low-income housing with 5,004 residents. Tenafly, 14,500 residents, has 35 low-income housing.
Those numbers don't sound right today. And in order for me to be able to determine whether they're right or wrong, I have to look it up.
I took from the computer available data. Cluster, that has one of the highest one, has a 14 unit.
Yes.
There is something wrong with all this things.
Thank you for your
Where did you
research.
find these numbers?
Sorry?
Where did you find these numbers?
Lying to the residents. It's very possible. It's very possible that those towns have minimal affordable housing because they don't have vacant land and they don't have development knocking on their door. Their unmet need is still there. They don't have an RDP that we have. The only reason our RDP is not 22, but somewhere in the hundreds, is because we have Normandy filing suit against us. This is why we're here.
Okay,
Listen,
let's
understand, it's very
hear from the resident. Okay, order, please. Yes, sir.
Mark for 86th Street. Thank you for your service and your professional. But I'm going to point out our real case about the Edgewater case about the enrollment student. They put on the new apartment, Avalon apartment, 408 unit. First year only, new student was 223 students enrolled. That is, he mentioned 127, right? That is 223. Almost 100 students. That is what we have to make sure. And then I worry about the litigation. I know last year and the before, we spent about $800,000 litigation cost, right? I'm not sure about it. But why don't you keep fighting with them? Time is our side, such as normally we spend 5 or 6 years, they have a lot of financial burden. Then they will go back to the develop the commercial unit. So time is our side. So my opinion is, please, our council member, keep continue fighting with them. We're gonna pay the legal fee, right? Don't save a legal fee. We have to spend the legal fee more, and we hire more strong law firm and keep fighting with them. Then time is our time. I think that is my. Thank you.
There we go.
Excuse me, I'm going to get up. Waste of time.
Carol McMorrow, 489 Summit Street. For those of you that don't know who I am, I was the former council president from January 1st, 2016 through October 1st, 2018. I was your co-liaison for that entire time period. And no one knows this matter better than I do, because I worked day and night on this subject with those professionals that are sitting up here, and I am not going to let them give you mistruths. Jeff, this is not easy for me because I respect you. Mike, I respect you too, but not anymore. Thank you. I worked with you for 1 year. I selected you to fight for the residents of this town that put the faith in the council to do the right thing. And you told me you could get the job done. You owe me a lot of explanations, well, along with this town, as to why you did an about-face after I left that council. Because I left this board with everything they needed to do to win. And I don't know what happened after October 1st, 2018, but something drastic happened, okay? Because let me tell you something right now. And Mr. Powell, I'm a little disappointed with you too. Let me tell you something. Because I have a chart that you gave me that doesn't match the one you put up on the board. You see, I don't remember which president it was, but you can play with those numbers. We all know that. And apparently you just did. So you have a lot of explanation to do. Okay, because mine here on the 600-unit plan, which did not have any 3-bedroom market units at all, now you're proposing 94.
Ms. McCarroll, I don't know that it's appropriate for you to... I don't know that it's appropriate, and perhaps the municipal attorney may want to weigh in on this.
What did I say
For you
wrong?
to be disclosing...
I think you should let the resident speak, Mr. Serrano. Let her talk.
Excuse me, Jeff. I did not give the number.
Let her talk.
Excuse me. I did not.
She didn't give numbers.
I didn't give the number. Give me the paper. I did not give the number. I didn't show anybody the number. What I said, Bob, is I have a different paper here. It doesn't match. What's going on, guys? Mike, January, first of all, I'm going to back it up more. Shanna, I did call Jen Brown. I'm probably the only one that did. Okay, I had detailed conversations with her and the stats that she gave me. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not disclosing that stuff. But I cared enough to call. I did call. I talked about it. She talked to me about her concerns. I relayed that to this council in closed session. She gave me numbers. We talked about it. Okay? Again, the data is not matching what was said to me. All I can tell you is it's not matching. I'm not going to go into detail. I can't divulge that. My problem here is that I walked the school grounds myself, Chairman Perino, and Mike Mistretta. We're probably the only 3 people that did. We walked the grounds of Upper School. We took a Sunday afternoon, and we fought the pouring rainstorms. And we went to Northcliffe, and we went there too. Mike, you told us that those buildings would not sustain any more children coming into those buildings. You said Northcliffe had to be knocked down. I'm not going to stand here. I am a resident of this town. These are my fellow neighbors. Al, you did not earn a seat at that table. You have no knowledge about what you're talking about. Really? No, you don't.
Okay.
Mike, on January 7th.
Mr. Wunsch, stop.
On January 7th.
You don't make a
On
statement.
January 7th.
Mr. Wunsch, stop it.
On
Stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, Debbie Sabari and Jimmy Song campaigned that they would fight to not allow residential housing on 800 Sylvan.
Yes.
On January 3rd, they were sworn in. The ink was not even dried on the oath of office on their paper. And according to Mr. Wunsch's certification that you can go on eCourts and download on another case that he attributed it to, he states that he was directed on January 3rd to start serious negotiations with 800 Sylvan. How did he do that? They had not had a closed session meeting. When did they have these discussions? This is really important, guys. What went on? Did they violate the Open Public Meetings Act? Were they meeting in secret? Yes. Okay? They owe us all explanations.
Once again, you're lying. Just because you speak out, you are lying.
No, you are a
You're a
liar.
liar.
I am not a liar,
I
miss.
promise the taxpayers.
You are a liar.
What I promise
not
the
a taxpayer.
taxpayers
The resident has the
is
floor.
that I would try to reduce the impact, and I didn't think
Mr.
that
Barr,
I could in
stop.
fact get them to change their mind.
Okay, you need to let the
Because
resident speak.
your planning board did.
Okay.
So don't say that I made a promise that I
You
didn't
need
keep.
to stop.
Let the
Because
resident
now
You
you
speak.
are
are
lying.
wrong and you got
Mrs.
caught.
McMorrow, you
got
are a
caught.
liar.
No, I'm not.
You are a liar.
Do you think I'm a liar or telling the truth?
You're a liar.
Okay, and again, I worked for a year with you guys, okay? At the planning board meeting on January 7th, you put your hand on the Bible and you said to Mr. Martin, he asked you, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? What was your answer? You said, I'm sorry? Okay. So why did you tell us that that 77-unit plan was so exciting, and this is great, and I can't wait to get
You
to
know why,
work on
Carol?
this?
You
It's
know
on
why,
audio
you can't
tape.
disclose why.
Why? Why did you tell us that?
Yeah, why don't you tell us, Carol? You're giving them information on what was confidential.
Park.
Why don't you tell us, Carol?
Right?
Park.
She doesn't give information. She lets people think that there's something going on when there's
Okay,
nothing
so,
going on.
I think it's safe to say that everybody did an about face on
Why
this
did
slide,
you
okay?
tell us? I can
You have the answer.
I can
Why
give
don't
you
you
the
tell us?
tape marker.
Okay, is there a person?
Jeff, I'm not going to disclose confidential stuff. I will not do those things. But I didn't. But I sat next to you at those mediations. I sat next to you with the individuals, the same ones. I know what you're going through. I talked about, we had a plan, and you abandoned it. You abandoned it. And as for Mr. Troutner, he got an order from, I think it was Ellen Park, saying to stop everything. They don't want to spend money.
That's not true. Mr.
Okay.
Troutner is 100% on board
Yeah,
with
I think you're
settlement.
making stuff up now.
You're making it up.
No, Carol.
Letters of
Okay, everybody stop. Everybody stop yelling, okay?
I'm not making stuff up.
Okay.
Jeff, you worked with me for a year. Did we have a good working relationship? We had an excellent one, right? I thought we did.
I think we need to.
Look, we may not figure out tonight what made these people change 180 degrees from where they were last year.
But that's-
Eventually, we'll find
The
out.
point that I want to leave the board, the point that I want to leave you with, Jeff, okay, is I, myself, the person that worked with you for a full year, day in, day out, we spoke till midnight on the phone, trying to figure everything out. I can't for the life of me understand how you went from January 7th, on the tape at the planning board meeting, to now saying, I recommend settling, when you told me for a year you didn't. You believed in home rule. That's what you said. I'm really disappointed.
Thank you, Mr. McFarland. And just so everybody knows, she worked tirelessly for you last year, as did Mr. Carino, and I thank them again. They did a great job. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hi, Christopher O, 70 Birch Street. My main question is, in the proposed overlay zones, do any council members or any of their companies own property in the overlay zones that are proposed?
Okay, I do not. I don't know about them.
I do not. And as far as the 77 units,
We didn't hear from the others. Does anybody own anything in an overlay zone?
We do have a leasehold, Mayor, in the area where the low-income housing.
I have a month-to-month lease at 473 at 473 Sylvan. Mr. Wunsch, unlike you, I don't have a federal tax lien against me, okay? No.
was Hudson Terrace.
You know what, Mayor, let me tell you something.
Let the residents speak. Let the residents speak.
In regards to Hudson Terrace, there's 77 proposed units.
This is the mayor that we have.
Okay, get up out of your chair one more time and you're getting thrown out, sir. Go ahead, sir.
What's to prevent us from rezoning it so we can allow more units on 77 so we wouldn't have to build on Normandy?
Yes.
Well,
That's just a question.
so basically you're saying
Can we rezone Hudson Terrace to allow more denser units on there and fulfill the obligation that way?
There's height restrictions.
There are restrictions, it might be possible, but again, I relied on these professionals that they've been told not to cooperate with me and with the public. So they're just hell-bent on building 400 units. I will look into that with someone.
Has nothing to do with affordable units, the high density is what the problem is.
Go ahead, Mr. Serenian.
There's things I can respond to and there's things I can't. But as to that, it's very clear that the more density that you permit on the municipal side, the more they can argue there should be higher density on the other sites. So your obligation goes up. So it was a balancing act between, what's a density that we can defend on our property versus theirs. And the other thing that bears emphasis is we didn't get their expert reports until January 7th, and we didn't have an opportunity to assess where we are in litigation and where this was going. So things evolved over the course of litigation, and you need to deal with what's in front of you.
I will look into that separately.
And in regards to the school budget, was 800,000, and the projected total revenue was 3 million. Right? I just wanted to know what the total cost to the town would be for these 600 units in terms of expenses. No one's answered that.
So I believe
they've only answered that they were going to raise the budget 800,000, but from what it sounds like, it doesn't sound like that's enough to take care of the additional students.
Well, look,
yes, 3 million, but then how much more is going to come out of our pocket?
No, it's not. Our total budget.
Well, obviously,
So
expenses are going to go up, aren't they?
sir, I thank you for that question. There's been an issue tonight, as I think you heard because you were sitting there, that the numbers seem half-baked or wholly baked, so we're trying to figure that out ourselves as well. Well, I mean, Mrs. McMorrow had a completely contrary worksheet from a year ago, so I've lost faith and confidence.
Yeah, we don't know that. We never saw that sheet.
Well, you did too.
Yeah. You know what, Carol? Where are you?
You all got it. You all got that sheet last year. But you're raising very good questions. We're taking note. If Mr. Powell wants to answer, he can answer. Because,
what I showed was that is this live? Yeah. Of the $3 million in new tax revenue, approximately $840,000 of that would be allocated to the municipal budget, not the school.
Okay. And what was on the sheet that you gave to Ms. McMorrow last year then?
I have no idea what the sheet is. She was waving it in the air.
So I would have to request the information from the town officially in order to see that, right? That would be available to me?
I'm happy to look at whatever she's got.
thank you. Is there anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Yes.
Hi, it's Roberta Booth
Okay, let the residents speak, everybody.
from 6 Downers Court. I have some questions about the 77-unit plan. One question is, I'm puzzled as to who would finance it and who would build it. My understanding of affordable housing has always been that you need market rate housing in order to subsidize the affordable housing. So that the 77 units would probably have to correspond to another 300 or 400 units of market housing in order for it to be built.
That's not
the way it works.
That's not how it
I'm not talking
No,
about, let me just finish one second. I'm not talking about the law, I'm talking about economically. Because,
Understood.
okay,
There's multiple ways to go about creating affordable housing. One is to have a project where 20% of the units are affordable.
Sure.
And another is to have a project where 100% of the units are affordable. If you're going to comply with a project where 100% of the units are affordable, you're responsible for covering any gap in financing.
right.
So if you have a 77-unit obligation, that plan from January showed a $12.8 million gap in financing if funds couldn't get.
What would be the total cost of 77 units? What would be the total cost? Not the gap, but the total cost for 77 units?
I
More
don't,
than
I don't, it's the gap, I don't know the cost. My recollection is the gap, because we had to adopt the resolution.
Right, but somebody's got to put up the equity, somebody's got to put up the money. Is it the town that's going to put up the money? Who's going to put them?
Well, it would be an
What
exposure.
developer? There is no developer available to do that. We don't have any. So that's my first question. And I still don't understand how it gets financed.
Okay, if it's 100% affordable project,
Okay?
the developer needs to, in order to be able to pay for it, has to compete with 9% tax credits. Extremely competitive. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more than 10 applications for every tax credit. So there's a giant fiscal exposure to complying with a 100% project. So what you have to do if you're complying with a 100% affordable project is you have to commit to cover the gap in financing.
So the town would have to put up $13 million.
So to produce 57 units, it was a $12.8 million, $12.7 million gap that we had to adopt a resolution that said if the developer can't secure financing, we'll cover that gap in financing. That assumes that the obligation is 77.
Right, no, I
Or
understand.
the developers are saying the
So
obligation is
what you're basically
200
saying,
to 300.
you know, I'm a real estate professional by trades, and this is a little bit gobbledygook to me. What you're saying is that the 77 units are economic in and of themselves because of the tax credit, if they're all affordable. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that the only way to pay for a 77, or in our case, a 57 unit affordable project is there's a gap in financing. And if you can't make up that gap through other ways, then you're the backstop.
So the
You're
town,
gonna write the check.
and what are the other ways? What are the other
The other
ways?
ways is there's competition for tax credits.
What are the tax credits worth?
I don't know the details of how much you get for tax credits.
Well, but it's important. I mean, if we're trying, but if the town,
I can give you the bottom line.
We did an analysis of the costs and revenues for a 100% affordable housing project.
right,
The rents that come out of the projects don't come close to generating enough income
right,
to raise debt and equity for the project.
right. That's the
You
nature.
probably get 4% tax credits to fund a 100% affordable housing project. That's what we analyzed, 57 unit, with only 4% low-income housing tax credits. The funding gap is still $120,000 a year. And that is the gap that the developer's not going to provide because it's lost money. The town would have to issue a bond issue for $120,000
Whether it's
per unit.
bonds or cash out of the till, right?
Cash out of the
It's
till.
$13 million that the town has to put up.
Right, that's right. So that's the reason that those projects aren't done by private developers,
Right.
they're done under tax credit rules. And so we looked at that, and it was considered, and it is an option for satisfying your obligation.
But it'll cost the town $13 million.
Yes,
Right.
and by the way, each of those units pays about $500 a year in property taxes.
Right.
Because they're under a pilot agreement, they're not allowed to assess them full taxes, so they also...
So you would have an underwater situation ongoing with respect to municipal services?
Correct.
Okay, okay, with respect to the 77 units. So, second question is, my understanding of what, at least what I heard today, is that you'd be cannibalizing the police station to do that? Is that
It's
right?
just a concept plan.
It was a concept that the intention was to try to stop.
But somebody said, let's just do that, let's do it now. And the fact is, that it would cost more than the $13 million because you'd have to replace, that's right?
$30 million on their replacement.
What we were trying to do is,
That's
we were actually
something
trying to do it
else.
so you didn't have to do anything with the police station.
So I have a second question. That's one. So the 77-unit plan is expensive for the town.